Shalom Uvracha. 36 times in the Torah we find the obligation and the corresponding prohibition to love the ger and to refrain from oppressing the ger, the foreigner, the stranger. According to Chazal, it means somebody who converts into Judaism. In the simple meaning of the verse, it includes those who are foreign, those who are outsiders, a ger toshav, somebody who lives among us but is not a part of the nation. And why? Says the Torah, Ki gerim eisem be'eretz Mitzrayim, because you too were strangers in Egypt. Part of the gzeira, the decree of the exile in Egypt, that was said to Avraham Avinu was, Yadea Teda, you shall know, Ki ger yeh zaracha, your offspring will be strangers in a foreign land. And the redemption corresponding to that in our Parashat Vayera is the words, V'ga'alti eschem, I shall redeem you, b'zroya netuya, with an outstretched arm. That redemption is from being estranged, foreign. And from here we learn, love the stranger. And the question is, we find societies, predominantly in the Western world, in the West, mainly on the progressive side of the political spectrum, that predicate, that place a special emphasis on loving the foreigner, the stranger, the one who's outside of the mainstream society. But specifically those societies, we also find within them a weakness, a moral weakness. We find anti-Semitism, anti-Israel, strong sentiments of anti-Israel and anti-Semitism, and a moral decay which is causing those societies to come apart. And as we're seeing, the pendulum is swinging. And the question is why? If you make your main emphasis the love of the stranger, love of the other, surely that should be the strongest foundation. That's a foundation that we take out when we come out from Egypt. Why are those societies so weak compared to the Jewish people who came out from Egypt, also predicated on that value of loving the other, the ger? But I think the answer to that is to appreciate the two levels, the two aspects of the building, of the creation of the Jewish people. Before Sefer Shmos, before the book of our exile and redemption, the book of our birth, we have the book of Bereshis. The book of Bereshis is about brotherhood. It's about the correction of the tear, of the split, the divide between brothers that begins with Cain and Hevel. Cain killed his brother Hevel and proceeds through Shem and Yefet and Cham, and then of course we have Yitzchak and Ishmael, we have Yaakov and Esav, we have Yosef and his brothers, and even there the fabric of the family is torn apart. But ultimately we reach a conclusion of the book of Bereshis in which the family unity is restored. All of the brothers are unified around the deathbed of their father Yaakov Avinu, and that forms the foundation, the basic infrastructure for the birth, the creation of the Jewish people. When the Torah speaks about if one member of the Jewish people becomes poor and falls between the cracks, the Torah says, Ki amuch achicha, if your brother shall become destitute. And then v'achazakta bo, you should strengthen him, you should support him. Why should you support him? The Torah gives the reason, because he's your brother. Meaning there's a first level, there's a first stage of national formation, and that's the stage of brotherhood. We are brothers to one another. Then upon that, there's a second level, there's an additional dimension, and that's the second level of loving the foreigner, loving somebody who's on the outside. But if you don't have the first stage, if you don't have Bereshis, you cannot move on to Shemos. If you don't have the brotherhood internally within the nation, then you will not be able to project that love, to give over from that light of the internal nation to the foreigner, to the other. And that's the problem with the progressive societies. The problem is that out of emphasis, and the emphasis is admirable, on loving the other, there's a loss of cohesion internally within the group, within the nation. There's no sense of brotherhood. Everything is predicated on loving the other, and loving the other comes at the expense of the internal brotherhood. And then the society cannot thrive, cannot prosper. It will decay. If you don't have the first level of internal brotherhood, then you won't be able to love the other either. First, you need your internal strength, your national strength, then you can give over from that to others. And in these days, here in Israel, as we go through, we continue to move through fateful times, and currently with the return of hostages, we have an opportunity to strengthen that brotherhood, to unite together around these times, times of joy alongside times of anguish. We each have to give from each other. We each have to appreciate that we are in a society of brothers. And then we will also be able to give over from that wellspring, from that resource, that pool of light, of goodness, of love, even to the foreigner, even to the stranger, as the Torah obligates us, because we too were strangers in the land of Egypt. We should know good tidings for Israel, for the Jewish people, and we should have a wonderful Shabbos.